Welcome back, everyone. New Mutator here, and yes, I am casting yet another game of Mid-2 Soulblighter. This is, in fact, Game 4 of Grumpy Grimm's Spectacular Free-for-All Tournament. Thanks again for joining me, everyone. Currently, we're looking at Genghis Boozer. This is kind of his setup here. The map name is Garden of Segesta or something like that. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Anyway, it is a dark mesh variant, but let's go ahead and go through all the players in the game before we go into that. We also have Donsky over here. Everyone's doing their unit trading, and we'll go into that a little bit more also. It is King of the Hill. Here's Adrenaline over here. We have Mercredon, or Merc, as he's going by right here. We have GKG, known also as Michael Jordan 23 at this point in time. This was last year in 2011. We also have Kron 1 setting up right here. So there goes the game. Now, dark trades are characterized by, a little bit more speed, a little bit more damage. Some of the units are a little bit tougher as well, such as the Mauls. They take quite a bit of damage. Fetch deal quite a bit of damage. Mercuria are pretty fast and tear through things like, well, they're pretty insane. In fact, they do go berserk when their health is low enough. You lose control of them, and they do, in fact, just kind of tear through whatever's closest to them. Berserks are unique in that they do not go berserk, but they are pretty good. Better than warriors. In fact, Solas are kind of like the dark variant of archers. A little bit less accurate, but they float, so they can go on impassable terrain. Now everyone's going to run into this area here and try to rack up time because it is King of the Hill. So far, Adrenaline, I think, is kind of on a little reign of terror here, although he does get hit for a lot of damage. I think that was, Michael Jordan 23 with his Mortar Dwarf. Mortar Dwarves, of course, fire mortars and deal a ton of damage from far away. So this is kind of the dynamic of this game at this point. As I think we just witnessed Merc kind of trying to tear through Michael Jordan there. Adrenaline's still kind of on his rampage. He's kind of owning the flag at this point. So one thing I wanted to draw your attention to was the fact, there he goes, taking out some of the Mauls, is the strategy involved in King of the Hill on this particular map. It is pretty fast-paced. It is pretty difficult to do for one person, which is what we're actually having here. 6 individual players playing against each other, all for this small little space. And we have Michael Jordan actually moving his unit down there, but it gets taken out, and that's what's going to happen, I think, a lot for a lot of these players is, they get a little bit overzealous, trying to bite off a little bit more than they can chew. They get overextended, and they pay the price because gets a little bit of revenge, though, it appears, on who is this? Kron 1. Got taken out a little bit. And Donsky. I think that was I don't know who that was, but somebody got blasted themselves. So the strategy here is to park up top, kind of up here. You can see all 6 players parked on the high ground, and just trying to rain down fire from above. Nice shot there by Genghis Boozer, who's racked up a lot of the kills. He's in a very nice spot actually, right there. And so you're going to, basically what you want to do is you want to have at least one unit down here, preferably a melee unit, to rack up time for you. Apparently Genghis Boozer in first at this point, but Adrenaline not too far behind. Who else is in there? Kron 1 is pretty close as well. Merc is the next closest, but he's 30 plus seconds behind at this point. Genghis Boozer trying to control click, and it looks like Donsky trying to flank him here and maybe take that fetch out. It's looking pretty tasty, but I think he's going to lose the Solus in the process. He just needs 1 or 2 more hits here. 1 more hit, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I think that fetch is going to take out that Solus, and too bad for Donsky. So that's kind of what I see happening here, is basically each person parking the majority of their forces where they're relatively safe, moving down with a couple of units, trying to rack up time on the flag, and just bombing from above with their mortars, and maybe even moving around with their Solus and their Fetch, trying to take each other out, but trying to keep their reserves relatively intact here, so they can keep streaming down, because the units that they do send down here are going to be prime targets and are probably going to be taken out. It's going to be very difficult for whatever units they have in this the center area to survive for very long, with 6 players all targeting that area. So we can see here, though, that Kron 1 is going to be moving in slightly with that Mortar Dwarf. And let's see who's in the lead at this point. Genghis Boozer still on top. Adrenaline right behind him, but Genghis Boozer with the most amount of units remaining, 85% at this point. And nobody else has quite that amount of remaining units. So he's actually in a pretty good position. GKG with a Berserk Mercuridia. He's going to be prowling around. You can't control it. It's basically impossible to control. And I think Genghis Boozer had his unit spacebarred and kind of lost a unit unnecessarily because of that. And we see here that Donsky came up top to try to flank Genghis while he's kind of down here. So actually Adrenaline might actually benefit from this move. Donsky has to be chased away here by Adrenaline, or not by Adrenaline, by Genghis. And while Genghis was preoccupied with repelling Donsky, Adrenaline swoops in here and I think regains position here as the first place contender at this point in time, at this juncture for this particular game. And he's actually going to move in here with this Fetch, and this is a very bold decision by him to move in here with this Fetch, as that Fetch could make a prime target. He is kind of eating through a lot of these units. He could get a nice shot off on these Berserks, but I think he's going to back away and try to keep that Fetch intact. He only has that one unit there on the flag, and he has like about a 15-second lead at this point. And his Mortar Dwarf actually duds on Donsky's units. Very interesting. And actually Mercurion is kind of going to move in here and try to do a lot of damage if possible. Genghis is going to try to wrest control away, but I think it's too late at this point, as he really needs to take out Adrenaline. And Adrenaline is gone, but there's only actually... Nope. Eliminated. Genghis gets taken out, so nobody's going to be able to unseat Adrenaline as the first place for this particular map. So actually, good job by Adrenaline. This is his one remaining unit, and he does take first place for game number 4. I think there's only one game to go for these finals, so it's very interesting because I'd have to double check and see who won all of the games, but it's not necessarily who you'd think it would be. And let's take a look at these players. Michael Jordan, 23, aka GKG, or Giant Killer General, not doing so hot. Only 94 damage, 14 kills, and 25 losses for him. Mercurion doing marginally better, actually doing a lot better than that, 163 damage, but only 22 kills to 25 losses, not quite breaking into positive ratios there. And Donsky doing better than Michael Jordan in terms of damage, but not in terms of kills to losses ratios here. 7 kills, 27 losses for him, and he actually didn't do quite so hot. I think as we can see here, he only managed to get 2 minutes and 40 seconds on the flag. I think maybe people were gunning for him since he won the previous game, and so that kind of put him at a disadvantage. Kron 1, who got 3rd place, significantly more time, but still about a minute behind the 1st place, and even the 2nd place teams, I guess I should say, but contestants, I don't know, what do you call them, players in this game. But he did manage almost to break into positive ratios, but Actually, not too much more damage than Donsky with only 114, 18 kills, 20 losses. And Genghis Boozer and Adrenaline kind of well, they're kind of cleaning up this game, not only in terms of time, but also in terms of kills. Look at this, 33 kills for Adrenaline, 37 for Genghis. Genghis just had this sweet spot overlooking everything. He had his mortar dwarf positioned so he can just kind of rain consistently on everybody's units. That actually worked really well for him, and Adrenaline, I think, just played really well here. 303 damage for him, Genghis with 325 damage. So everybody just about got cleaned up in the end, but they did most of the cleaning up until the end anyway. So that's going to be it for game number 4. Pretty exciting King of the Hill match here. Thanks again for joining me, everybody, and we'll have to see you in the next game.
Game over.